Okay, welcome to the Soul-Led Revolution with me, your host, Yolandi Boshoff, and I'm super excited today to introduce you to Amanda Nova. So Amanda is a holistic health practitioner, a clinical nutritionist, and she is the founder of the Olive and Grace Apothecary and the author of The Nourished Spoon. She also teaches people how to take healing into their own hands and to bridge the gap between holistic and modern medicine. Amanda, so happy to have you here. Very welcome.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here with you.
Oh, I can't wait to speak to you. So, Amanda, tell us a little bit about your own journey getting to this point. I know you're doing this amazing work now, but it wasn't always like sunshine, roses, and unicorns. Like the shit had to hit the fan for you to kind of get into this. So tell us a little bit about your
Yes, of
history.
course. Well, the shit has hit the fan several times in my life. As most people that listening, it's probably the case, right? We always want to tell these stories of this one thing that happened, but for me, it's been, a few different things. For my health and nervous system journey, I really have been dealing with chronic pain and chronic health issues for about, I would say, 8 to 10 years. And as I continue to do this work and tell the story, that gets longer, right? It's like 10 years now that I've been dealing with these things. And it was, I would say, about 3 or 4 years ago that things really did hit the fan, where I was so sick, I couldn't function. I had two spine surgeries. I was in constant just pain, brain fog, anxiety, depression, just completely fallen apart. And going to doctor after doctor and really trying to find answers. And the answers that I was receiving were, here's an antidepressant, you have fibromyalgia. Here's an anti-inflammatory, you have arthritis. And these things that just felt really disconnected to me. I didn't want to take medications. I felt like something was deeper and just that it just wasn't working. And so I ended up using my background in holistic medicine, because I had become a holistic health coach back in 2013, and through that time studied herbalism and Ayurveda and all these wonderful natural modalities, and started to kind of put together my own toolkit to really be able to help myself get out of this. And on top of that, when I was really, really sick, I also wanted to be able to tie in this clinical medical piece, because when I started getting these diagnoses, I was getting diagnosed with autoimmune disease and then finding out that I had Lyme disease and all these different things that started to put this whole puzzle together.
Yeah.
So I went back to graduate school for clinical nutrition. I went to a naturopathic medical school to learn clinical and naturopathic nutrition, holistic health together.
Yeah.
And that really was the final piece of my puzzle, because I was learning that there were people that were going to be on medication, or there were sickness, there were illnesses that could be treated with natural medicine, but also people that were on modern medicine that needed help. So my journey was really about figuring out how to help myself. And through that, I was able to garner all these tools and modalities and techniques to be able to help other people. And that's what I've been doing.
Oh, and I just love that, because it's just like, isn't it beautiful how we kind of get like thrown into the deep end, and then it's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay here or do you want to climb out? And then like making these decisions, right, to kind of get out of it. So I love that.
100%. It's always so interesting to me too, because we do have a choice in those moments, but we don't realize that we have a choice, right? I mean, it's like you're like, that's it. I have to take this medication now. And for me, it was always fighting. And then it took me several years to understand that I went through all of this so that I can help other people through it. And for that, I'm very grateful to the experience. I don't think, and I needed to find out why is this happening to me? Why is this going on? And now I understand, which makes it a more beautiful journey so that I can help other people.
Yes. And like, yeah. And then ta-da, guess what? There's your purpose.
Surprise, there it is.
And so like, we've kind of like, we've worked together and stuff, and you're very much into like the woo side of things as well. So how do you like weave all of that into this like clinical, nutritional, all that type of stuff? How do you weave it together?
Yeah, so yes, I love both sides of that. It's I always sort of describe to people when I talk about the spiritual, the woo, I say I'm very into the spiritual and I am very into energy and frequency, but I also live in New York and I am a very like cynical, rational New Yorker, right? And so I question a lot, and that's been a really amazing part of all of this, because then I get to really work with both sides of it. And what I've realized recently is that within the spiritual space and the holistic wellness space, there's so many people that work with the other side, and they work with beautiful things like star seeds and souls and all these amazing things that I know you do, which I love.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out where my place was in all of that. And it took me a very long time. And only recently did I realize that my purpose is to help souls be in the bodies that they're in, heal the bodies that they're in, manage the body, deal with their physical body. And that's still woo-woo medicine in a way, right? But it's also earth medicine. And I was like, that's what I am here to do, right? And leave
goosebumps.
I know, leave the esoteric stuff to the people that are better at that stuff. But I work with it, right? So I work with herbs and I work with the earth, and the clinical piece for me, what I love about it is that it's evidence. So if I am working with somebody who is another cynic from New York, I can say, hey, we're working with the lymphatic system per se, which lymphatic massage is very wellness and holistic medicine. But did you know that it helps lower cholesterol as well? Like, it helps actually lower the cholesterol within your blood because of the way it works with the circulatory system. Having that evidence helps me to help anybody, what regardless of what they believe. And then I just say, leave the rest. Take what you believe and leave the rest.
And I love it because it is all woven in together, right? And like what you said now about like being in our bodies, right? So having worked with like star seeds, and I mean like seeing all of that, and I mean one of the big things is like all of the illnesses that I see is almost like it's us rejecting our physical experience on earth, right? Like there has to be something there.
Yeah, we're not into being here. We're like, we're done. We've been persecuted. We've been like, people don't want to be in their body, souls, I should say, don't want to be in their physical bodies. And I think especially coming off of such a hard time in the world, there's so much trauma, there's so much pain, and these things that people are experiencing mentally, emotionally, are manifesting in physical ailments. And so I'm very much about, let's build a kit, right? So that you can manage day to day, because a lot of people don't have the choice to throw up a white flag and just hang out. You know, I mean, you can't just be like, well, my nervous system is shutting down, so I can't, you know, be a mother anymore. I can't show up to work. I mean, a lot of us don't have a choice, and I didn't have a choice. And so I'm more about, how do we manage being in this body, in this world that is not an easy place to be, and get through it and thrive, not just survive.
Yeah, exactly. And this like for me speaks to like spiritual bypassing and stuff, where people are kind of like just going, okay, I'm just ignoring all this, but like this brings it all together. This is kind of like, okay, spiritual being in human body, let's like work together and make it comfortable and more acceptable for you to be here and like do what you need to freaking do on this planet, right?
Get through the day. And we feel so many things in our body and people don't realize, you know, it's like this whole thing of, you know, I'll give you an example that kind of relates to both worlds. I have been working a lot and working with people and speaking a lot. My throat has been killing me. My throat chakra, not good. Yeah. When I look to remedy that, right now I'm drinking tea with honey, beautiful, you know, herbal tea, earth medicine, but I also am bringing out my blue crystals for the throat chakra, and I'm going to do some energy work on my own throat, right? Because it comes out in these ways, right? Where it's kind of like, or people that are really holding a lot on their shoulders, and then you have neck pain and shoulder pain, right? Like things like that, where it kind of starts to, you have this somatic experience. So I always say that it's about, you know, dating your body. Like, let's learn to be in these bodies. How do we manage them and how do we deal with the pains? Because our mental and emotional and soul traumas are showing up in our physical, on the physical plane. So we have to deal with it now.
Yes, exactly. And the one thing that I mean, this has only for me been a very recent, like the last couple of years, I've even like known about this, but like this whole thing about our nervous systems, it's not something I feel we speak about enough. And I'm so grateful for your channel. So like if you're listening or watching this, please go and subscribe to the channel because I love what you do. Practical stuff that we can do every single day. And so for me, the nervous system feels like it's like sort of in our spiritual expression, there's a connection there, right? Like you've spoken about the vagus nerve and stuff, and like a lot of the work that you've been doing now. When I do energy work, it seems to be one of the most important channels for energy to run through our body so that we can connect like up and down into the earth and stuff. And so I want to speak a little bit about that because for me, it's like nervous system is not something that people are considering as part of their spiritual evolution and their consciousness expansion. And I'm like, fucking hell, it's crucial. It's like a foundation.
Yeah, it is. And it's the foundation for everything. You know, when I will say about the vagus nerve and other things that I've talked about, like the lymphatic system, a lot of people will be like, what training did you take? And I'll say, throughout my 10 years of studying holistic and clinical medicine, I did not learn these things. I had to self-study to go deeper into these things, teach myself so that I can teach others. And the vagus nerve, as I started to uncover and peel back the layers, it is unbelievable. Like, I geek out about this. I mean, it is connected to so many of the organs. I mean, it is the longest nerve in our body. So we'll just give a little bit, let's do a little bit of anatomy. So it's the longest cranial nerve. So it starts in our brain. It's on both sides. So we actually have two of them, although we only refer to it as the vagus nerve, but there's two on each side. It runs from our brain and it runs through our esophagus, our throat, into our thymus, and then it goes into our heart, our lungs, and our gastrointestinal system, our liver, our gallbladder, and it lands in our large intestine. So, as you can imagine, it's connected to all these functions within the body. But the piece about the nervous system is that, and it's funny, funnily enough, I don't know when this will air, but I posted about this today. The thing about the vagus nerve that is so key with the nervous system is that it's the switch between your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous state. So in parasympathetic, we're relaxed, we're sort of calm. That's our rest and digest. All of our systems are working, let's say, right? Heartbeat regulated, digestion regulated. When we're in sympathetic, there's a trigger. Somebody's trying to attack us. We are just lit up, right? That's like that feeling, and everything's constricted. And then what happens is that all of our energy and adrenaline goes to our peripheral parts of our body, our hands and our legs, so that we can fight. It's animalistic. It's innate, right? What happens is that the vagus nerve is the switch from the sympathetic back to parasympathetic. It brings us back. Cool. If there is dysfunction there, we get caught in sympathetic, which is fight or flight. So this is part of people getting stuck in that survival mode, right? Yes. I'm on the run. And that can happen from a big trauma or a little trauma at some point throughout the life, right? And you get stuck because this vagus nerve is not functioning properly. And then it's like your digestion doesn't work. You have heart palpitations, you're breathing. The lungs are a really big part of this, sleep apnea, dysregulated breath, that you don't breathe all the way into the belly. So it's connected to our bodies functioning the way that our bodies need to function.
Yes.
It's just unbelievable. And the nervous system, I think there's this sense of, when we're looking at the spiritual and we're kind of getting into that with the nervous system, it's that we're afraid. It's fear. Like, I'm sure when you're working, I mean, it's fear, it's panic, it's not feeling protected. Yes. That's that fight or flight. Like I, animalistic, I think, oh my God, I need to hide behind this rock. Like somebody's an animal.
Exactly. There's a lion coming. I need to move.
Yeah. But the thing is that when it happens with animals, they switch back immediately. Like they immediately go back into they move on with their lives. We hold on to it and store it in the body. And then all of a sudden 5 years pass and we're constipated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like, and then like things aren't working and we're not
Yeah.
sleeping and all this crazy stuff is going on.
And I love it because the way you explain it is so beautiful, because it's just like, yes, that makes so much sense. And it's like, we've forgotten that we need to look after this little switch, right? And so it's just like, this is one of the most important things, because if I am in that state, I can receive stuff, I can like live better. And I think we're so caught in the little rat race, like our stress and like, I need to get things done. So we never actually get out of it so that we can be in that space of receiving and like enjoying life and being back in joy and stuff. So I mean, this shit's so important. It's ridiculous.
It's so important. And why, right? I mean, I think back to with my own journey, a lot of things for me in more of the spiritual woo-woo space were beliefs that I had, right? And it's beliefs a lot of people have about hustling. Yeah. I always felt that I had to hustle and be burnt out and be working the hardest in order to be successful. And so I, in a way, did this to myself, right? Like it's like in that kind of thing where, and I realized that that belief system and that mentality is how I ended up getting sick, because in my beliefs and the way that I was raised, the only way you could relax and take a break and breathe and not show up to things and actually care for yourself was if you were sick or something was wrong. And then suddenly I have this illness, right? And it's like, it's what's going on, because my body and soul are saying you need to rest. You need to take care of your nervous system. And it's okay to create a life that supports that. You don't have to be running yourself into the ground. That's not equivalent to success. It's actually the opposite, right?
So your take on, like, I mean, because autoimmune disease seems to be one of those things that's just like, it's rife at the minute. Like everyone you speak to, there's some kind of diagnosis, the doctor, they don't know, blah, blah, blah. What's your take on autoimmune disease and how it's showing up so prevalently at the moment?
Yeah, I think that the way that I've always described it and thought about it is really the perfect storm. So there are pieces, right? If we look at like the clinical side for a second, where people have genetics that make them more susceptible, right? Or something that I do, I study the iris and look at people's irises when they come to me, and I can see maybe they're susceptible to having disease, right? Or autoimmune in certain parts of their body. However, what happens throughout our life is what determines whether that manifests or not, right? So I think I think there's one piece of the puzzle that is genetic, and that might be why, say, a trigger might trigger me and not my husband, right? Like say we're both living in, I don't know, a moldy home, or we both get bit by a tick and I get sick and he doesn't, right? So that's more of the genetic piece. But then there are these chronic stressors and these things that happen. And when I say chronic stressors, I always think physical, environmental, emotional, mental. So environmental, so again, like mold, or you get bit by a tick, right? Something like that. Or we're in a completely toxic world, right? Things like plastic, can cause us to have a toxic overload that then results in inflammation, which then results in autoimmune, right? So there's all these different things. So getting stuck in that chronic stress loop, I believe, also causes autoimmune. That's really one of the ties, actually, speaking of the vagus nerve, is that we get stuck in fight or flight, and then our body starts producing inflammatory signals. Yeah. And then if there's miscommunication with the vagus nerve, no signals or messages get sent to put out the fire. Yeah. So I think that also causes autoimmune. So I think there's like a lot of different things. I think the belief system and the spiritual piece was very prevalent for me. I don't believe that that's everyone, but I think for me, that was what prevented me from, with all the work I was doing within the herbal and, all the things I was doing, I was still stuck. The final piece of the puzzle was realizing what the beliefs were that were keeping me stuck. So I know that's like a long, convoluted answer. There's so many things. There's so many things. It's like a cauldron of stuff.
Yes. But this is us, right? Like the human experience is mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. It's like the whole package. So you can't just look at it and go, it's all this or it's all that. So it is like all the pieces of the puzzle that like needs to be there. And that's the perfect storm, like you say.
It's the perfect storm, but it's happening to so many people because those chronic stressors are becoming more and more. So we are living in toxic environments, but then we're also getting stuck in this fight or flight, right? Where this chronic inflammation is happening, chronic stress from things, everyday things like you work, you know, you have a meeting with your boss or a presentation, and we're not turning it off. So that's what's happening. So it might not be, you know, a trauma with a capital T, you know, a death, you know, something that really happens is becoming equivalent to all of these small traumas that we collect throughout our life that we don't understand how to turn that system off. And I believe that that's what causes a lot of this inflammation, is that we are stuck and we don't know how to get our nervous systems out of it. So a lot of people come to me after traumatic brain injuries. They hit their head, they had a concussion, and that's with the nerve, they can't get back into homeostasis, and suddenly they become sick. Surgeries, having a death, you know, in the family, or a friend, you know, just going through grief, as well as things like, you know, just everyday life, you know, that they just can't ever come back from. And now they're sick and they don't know why. And it's their body, their organs, everything's just shutting down and stressed out.
Yeah. And I think, like you say, and this is such a big symptom of our lives, how we live, and the hustle culture, and how we've, like, societal, like, standards and norms that we're feeling like this perfection and all that type of stuff. And it's like the minute you kind of step back from all that stuff, and I always feel like the pandemic gave a lot of us perspective, where we all kind of went, oh my God, like, you know, like, we don't need all the shit that we think we need, and we don't need to work so hard, and we actually need to be happy and live life. And these things all tie so neatly in. I mean, all the work that you're doing. So I just absolutely love it. So tell us a little bit about, like, if people want to find out more about this stuff, like, how do you help them? Well, like, what can they get from you?
Yeah. So I do a lot of different things because I really want this information to be accessible to everyone. So I have kind of, like, not different, I wouldn't say different levels, but different offerings for how deep you want to go, or how personalized you want the information to be. So starting with what's free, because we all love free. So you can watch my Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok. You can find me on there for free tips that are, like, really quick and that you can do, you know, in the moment, so quick learnings. You can watch my YouTube for where I go in a little bit deeper into things, where I get to explain stuff, but also, again, free content where you can learn about things like adrenal fatigue, how to do stuff with the vagus nerve, the lymphatic system. Then I have virtual classes where I cover each of these topics, and they're completely, you know, go at your own pace. I had done some that were live that you can catch the replay of. That's my vagus nerve one. So you can do these classes that are about an hour to 2 hours. I have 3. One is the vagus nerve, one is the lymphatic system, and the third is a little bit longer of a course on hormones, where we kind of cover adrenal fatigue. And then lastly, the golden offering is I do work with people one-on-one, and that is for people who are looking for personalized, individualized attention on some of these things. And a lot of these people who have dealt with traumatic brain injury, who have had something happen and they are really sick. I really handle people with chronic illness for the most part. I always say, like, I'm not like a weight loss nutritionist, like but you know, I work with people who have hormone issues or having trouble getting pregnant, right? Because the hormones get all messed up from all this other stuff we're talking about, and then infertility happens, and I work with people within that space. So that's kind of the progression. So you can choose your level, choose your journey.
I love it. And I mean, the stuff that you put out on Instagram, because I follow you on Instagram, and I mean, it's just been it's like little golden nuggets of stuff. I'm like, oh, I can do this, and I can, like, just rub this here, and then, like, it all, like, relaxes me, and it's such cool things, and it's like every day there's something new. So I'm just like, it's really so beautiful, just like to share all that stuff and get it out there. So I'm really, really appreciative of it. So tell us a little bit about the herbs and stuff as well, because I know that you do the olive and gray stuff, and that just looked so nice. I was looking at it and I'm like, I wish I lived in the US.
Oh my God, I know. So I really want to start shipping internationally.
Yeah.
I will say anyone that has a small business will understand this. Like, they do not make it easy to ship
No.
internationally. And it's so unfortunate and frustrating because I have my audience, I have so many people who are in all over the world and I can't ship to them. And it breaks my heart because it's so expensive and you have to like give your firstborn to send stuff, but we're working on it. So Olive and Grace, I actually started back in, I think 2018, 2017. And the name actually is inspired by my grandparents who have passed, who were from Italy. And they really come from another time of kitchen herbal medicine, right? Kitchen witches and things like that, where, you know, instead of taking, you know, a medication, you would give somebody an herb, or you would, you know, do these natural remedies. And at the time I was really struggling with the pain and I wanted to find ways to deal with that in a way that was natural. And I often say about Olive and Grace, because when it first came out there were 10 products, now there's only 5. I actually, it was so inspired and channeled through me that I often felt like I had blacked out and created it. Like, I didn't remember creating all the products. Like, I was like, what happened? Like, when was this? What is this? Like, it was so channeled through me. And then I ended up having to shut it down with me being really sick and the pandemic. And then we're just reopening it. So I have 2 different lines right now. One is skincare. So it's this beautiful botanical serum. I make everything by hand. I bottle everything by hand. I label everything by hand. So it is small batch with love, very, very healing. It's got these amazing citrusy, you know, essential oils in it. So it's like this wonderful experience for your face, and has rose hip oil in it. And it's been steeped in rose and hibiscus, so very healing for the skin. And that's also one that, like, when I do lymphatic massage and vagus nerve, I always use that with it because it helps to boost the mood and it's wonderful. And then I also have a line of glycerin tinctures. And the reason why I had created them was that I was reacting to everything so much along my journey that I couldn't do an alcohol tincture, even though it was such a small amount of alcohol. I was just so sensitive. And a lot of people are, their nervous systems, or when they're shot, you can't, your whole body is just always reacting to everything. So I created them, and they have adaptogenic herbs, which are for stress, help your body adapt to stress. There's nootropic herbs, which are for brain health and cognition and memory, brain fog. And then I have nervine herbs that actually relax the nervous system and help with nerve pain and calm down. And then I have one for sleep as well. That's like anti-spasmodic. It's also a sedative. Almost lost that word for a second. It's a sedative that can help people calm down and go to sleep. So all made by hand. And I just started selling it again 2 weeks ago. So
yay! So I got in just in time. So please, like, go and check it out if you're in the US. Awesome. That's so beautiful. Okay, so is there anything else? Like, our time's sort of running out right now. So I just wanted to ask, is there anything that you would like to say to the listeners? Just if people are going through this journey of like chronic illness, like pain, all of that type of stuff, what is your advice to them?
My advice is, don't lose hope. It can feel very discouraging. It is not a linear journey. You are not going to, you know, even seeing me, right? I'm in remission, but my journey was very up and down. It was not, it's never been a straight line to the end. And I want to say, and we're still not at the end, right? You have it within you to be able to heal yourself. And people like me, and there's plenty of other people out there as well that give information, use those, take the tools and build your own toolkit, take what works for you, leave the rest, and just continue to have hope and advocate for yourself. And these tools can empower you because you can understand that you don't need to have all the money in the world or all the tool. You don't need to have, you know, all these things that to heal. You can use your hands, you can use earth medicine. These things can help you, and they're there for you. So I just want, I want to encourage people and inspire people to continue to do what feels right within their body. Trust your intuition, trust your gut. You know, even though a doctor might tell you XYZ, if that doesn't feel right to you, listen, you know, go in and listen and there is healing, and I fully believe that.
Oh, I love that. And you're like the poster child for it. So I love the fact that
I've lived it. I've been there. I have been there. I have been down every dark hole, every dark place, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So thank you so much. If people want to get hold of you, where's the best place for them to follow you and like just connect with you?
Yes, Instagram is my number one, Amanda Nova Wellness on Instagram. And on Instagram, you can find links to all of my other channels and all of my other stuff. So that's definitely the place to go first and foremost. Or you can visit my website, which is amandanovawellness.mykajabi.com.
Okay, fantastic. I will post all those links in the descriptions of the interview as well. So yeah, so please just like go and follow Amanda. It's awesome. Like seriously, I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time today to just come and talk to us about what you do and all this like awesome stuff. It's really beautiful. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So yeah, I'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know what you think. Thank you.